If you are watching this, then you're having a good day. And if you're not having a good day, this is your sign that you will be having a good day. Okay, and if the day is almost over, then tomorrow will be a good day. Okay, stay positive. Damn, why are you so negative? First person on our list is going to be Miss All Cherry. She has been on TikTok for officially over a year now. And it's going to be interesting to see how she celebrates it. Will she be celebrating it in this video?
I have
I have no
officially
idea.
been on TikTok for 1 year, and I
Okay.
really cannot believe that it's been a year already. And I just want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to my book talk friends who were some of my very, very first supporters when I first got on here. I love you all so, so dearly. And the fact that I have not just my wonderful book talk corner, but my One Piece corner now as well. It's been such an amazing.
I mean, like, couldn't we also be considered the book talk corner too? Because like One Piece is a book, you know. And I feel like we're. I mean, we don't make videos, so I guess we're book corner. I don't know. You know, you don't gotta segregate us.
Beautiful and incredible journey. I've never been a super confident, get out there person. I'm very shy, and this is just, it's allowed me to step out of my comfort zone in ways that I wouldn't have thought possible. Nothing makes me happier than getting to talk about the books and the media that I am consuming and sharing that love with other people. Whether you've watched all my videos or you're just for One Piece or book talk, if you're a silent watcher, I see you. I love you all. I'm so, so appreciative. I don't talk about this really a lot. I have battled for the past 4.5 years with a chronic illness, and it took over so much of my life for a time, as well as being a mom to two young kids. It was a lot, and I started reading again as a form of escapism and continuing to read and now sharing it through here. It has turned into such a beautiful thing for me. And again, it's not the followers, it's not the number, it's not the views, it's not anything. It's the people who genuinely seek that connection with my page. And again, we want to just share our love of the same things. It has brought me back to life in so many ways. So I love you all. I'm just really, really thankful for you guys. So here is to another wonderful year. I can't wait to see what we
Aww.
read next.
I look forward to it. I don't know if you're already tired of Miss All Cherry, but if you are, too bad. We're gonna get even more. And if you don't feel tired of her and you love her even more, we're about to do even more because she made a long form video. Let's go ahead and check it out. Okay, so before we watch the video, I do need to say that we will be interviewing her. Unfortunately, we couldn't do the interview before she reads Marineford like we planned. The original plan was to do a pre-Marineford interview and a post-Marineford interview. But unfortunately, we couldn't do that. But at the end of the day, we're still able to interview her. So we will be doing that. Hopefully all goes well sometime this week.
So first, I really do have to talk about the humor in
I
this
mean, we
arc.
saw her live reaction of Thriller Bark, right? Yeah, this is just like her deep diving into it even further. But okay, all
Because I
right.
feel like that is what really
That's like
shined
30
in this
minutes of
arc.
this.
It very much felt like Skypiea level humor. It was absolutely hysterical. I love it when Oda just lets go and imbues his hilarious sense of humor into the plot and these characters. It's just hysterical. Like Luffy, of course, the panel of Luffy pushing the zombie back into the ground, and concerning the whole joke about the old man with severe injuries. It was seriously so funny. I had tears in my eyes laughing at so many different scenes here. Brook's introduction and how humorous Brook is, and saying that he would cry but he doesn't have eyes, or he would laugh if he heard the joke but he doesn't have ears. Things like that, just very humorous. Luffy inviting every weird and odd creature to be a part of the crew, and the crew getting angry. Just so many funny moments in here. But if we go back toward the beginning of the arc here, there
Okay.
is a character that really was highlighted, especially toward the beginning of this arc, and it was Frankie. And Oda did such a wonderful job, I feel like, of showing us Frankie's character and his heart. and the way that he can interact with the crew, being,
And did a
the
good job of
newest
redeeming
member.
Frankie.
And he starts off with such a strong moment when he surprises the crew with the Mini Mary. And I just thought that this was such a sweet and absolutely delightful moment from him that,
Aww.
I mean, first of all, he put so much thought and care and effort into this ship. He designed it perfectly for the Straw Hats with each crew member in mind. He created a special space and place for them. And then the fact that he paid homage to Mary and made the Mini Mary, it just was such a sweet moment. And you could just see how much it meant to the crew and how much they just adored her. I loved that Oda made this moment happen for Frankie because it just was such a perfect way to start off this new arc with him as a new crew member. And also with Frankie, we continue and he has so many great moments. I loved that he and Robin kind of went off and had their mom and dad moment looking for the rest of the crew members. And Frankie is just so up here with his emotions. He laughs, he cries, he's loud, and Robin is just there with her quiet smile and her backup when he needs her. I just adore them. They complement each other so well. And again, the fact that they are canonically older than the rest of the crew members, you just see how they're able to interact with each other in a way that they can't interact with the rest of the crew. And, the way that Frankie quite literally was big brother to his Frankie house back in Water 7, and the way that Robin, like Luffy always looks to Robin for this kind of security and question when he's unsure. And
I think that's a very strange thing to ponder on, right? And this is like walking you guys through my mindset, I guess. The world has denormalized the idea of people of all ages being friends. Obviously, there's a specific level of boundary whenever you're like 30 something and you're being friend with a 35-year-old that's not associated to you in terms of like familiar or anything like that, right? There's a level of boundary you have to set there, right? But like this, she stated right here, like Robin and Frankie, they're either in their 30s or very late 20s. And Luffy's like 17, It's like a huge, like over 10 years of difference. It's like they're just like hanging out with him, they respect him and all that stuff. I treat him like a fellow adult. And I feel like I don't know how, because I'm not a girl, I don't know how this works for girls, but me as a guy, I have a friend group, and this friend group has had people of all ages come and go in the friend group. Some of them are pushing 30. Some of them just got out of high school. We're all like of all ages, and we all just hanging out. Some of them have children, and the children are part of the group. So it's like, yeah, it's just I don't know. I don't know what it is like for women, but guys just kind of like hang out with all like ages and stuff like that. We don't really like care as long as you're a guy, you're cool, So I don't know. It's kind of cool.
just think it's such a cute thing and dynamic that they have with the crew now. So, yes, I know that they're like, big brother and sister. I call them mom and dad because they're just so adorable. And also, continuing with Frankie, the way that he addressed Brook. So no one really asks the question, but they find out that Brook's shadow is gone and that his whole crew is wiped out, and he ate the revive fruit, I think, or the second chance fruit, and he now lives as a skeleton, and he's been trapped in Thriller Bark without his shadow for like 50 years, I think. It's just been
Damn.
this awful time. And Frankie, of all people, goes out of his way and asks the question, why haven't you tried to die again? Because you're here alone, you don't have a shadow. He's like, if it were me, I don't know if I could continue that way. And I just find it very interesting that it's Frankie who's bold enough to ask that question. But again, I think that because he's older, he really wants to find the truth out about Brook. He wants to kind of find out his line, his motivation for, trying to survive through this time. And that's when they find out about his connection to Laboon. And of course, Frankie is just bawling his eyes out, and he has so much respect for Brook after he finds this out, and he's able to tell the rest of the crew, who naturally are so excited that they have found a crew member from Laboon's crew because they are fully planning on circling back and reuniting with him. So I truly just thought that this was such a, again, great moment from Frankie. I'm glad that he was brave enough to ask, even though it does seem quite nosy and intense for a question. But I do think that Frankie is quite the intensely emotional individual, so it makes sense to me on why he felt comfortable and confident enough to ask Brook this. So let's take a break from the characters for a minute and let's talk about the theme. So this is very gothic. It was very Nightmare Before Christmas, Frankenstein.
Yeah.
And honestly, I'm not a huge fan of the gothic theme. I don't really like horror
Me
or
neither.
scary movies. So
Me
the
neither.
theme, honestly, didn't quite land with me. I wasn't in love
Yeah.
with the theme here in the way that I was with like Amy's Lobby, you know, or
I mean,
Water
like,
7
I'm not
or
opposed to any
Skypiea.
like goth baddies watching. If you're a goth baddie and you're watching this, like, hit me up. You know, I'm not opposed to any goth girls. It's just how everything else about the story was great. It's just the goth was like, you know, it happened. It happened, I guess.
However,
You know?
it was really creative, and I loved all of the little connections with this gothic literature and culture that Oda had in this writing. It always just astounds me how much research and care he puts into each arc and saga with the connections and the real world links that he puts into this. And it's the same here. So even though I'm not necessarily a gothic fan, I still was able to appreciate all the work that he put into this. So that continues on with the villains. I was not a fan of the villains in this arc at all. I think especially after the kind of villains that we had in Water 7 and Ennie's Lobby, the betrayal and the high stakes and how powerful these characters were compared to that, and again, just the pure vitriol I had towards Mr. Spam and Robert, aka Spandam and Lucci in Ennie's Lobby, I feel like it just helped these characters fall flat. However,
did she just put a
that
cat
I
face on
didn't enjoy the
Lucci?
fights, and I'll get into that in a little bit. I really enjoyed
Oh,
the
she didn't
character
enjoy the
fights in
fights.
this, but Absalom, I mean, there's no universe
They
in
were
which
kind
I'm
of
gonna
lame.
love
Yeah.
Absalom. He was a total
Yeah.
creep. Did not like
Yeah.
him at all. Moria, I mean, just lame. First of all, he looks like an onion. Luffy, once again, is
Whoa! What's with this Moria? Hey, hold on. Wow, he's been through a lot.
spot on in his nicknames for these characters. Very lame. His devil fruit power was really cool, and also so incredibly cheap and annoying. And
hating ass, Miss Old Cherry, you little hating ass. You just like to hate, don't you? What did he do to you? Damn.
then there was Perona, which I
Okay.
didn't really like.
Don't
her
you dare
either.
hate on
If I
Perona.
had to pick a favorite, it would probably be Perona. I thought that her
Okay,
ghost
okay,
ability
okay.
was really interesting. And then
Alright.
we had the Doctor. I almost
We
hate
don't like him.
as much as I do
Yeah.
Absalom. Not quite,
Yeah.
but close. His whole scene with Chopper and Sindri and finding out what he did to Sindri, it genuinely was so incredibly unsettling. It's one of the most unsettling, gross feelings I've had towards a character, even more so than Absalom when they were fighting, because Absalom is just like, you know, your neighborhood creep. Like, that's who he is. And then
Neighbor, wow! What neighborhood you live in? Look, first of all, I don't interact much with my neighbors. Usually I don't, unless it's like a casserole given away to like the new people and stuff like that. I don't interact much with my neighbors, you know what I'm saying? So like me personally, I don't know about my neighbors being creeps, you know? Like I'll walk outside and they'll see me like go into my car, I'll be like, what's up? They'll be like, what's up? You know what I'm saying? Like once in a while, whenever like the police comes to one of their house, I'll like peek and see what's going on. But like I don't know. What kind of neighbors do you be having?
though,
you know?
the Doctor, he just, like, you know, and the fact that he's made all these zombies and he's obsessed with immortality, I don't know. It was just very much if we were in the gothic theme here, with like
Yeah.
Frankenstein, it's very much
Yeah.
the vibe there. Very unsettling.
Mm.
I did not like him at all, and his end was just so satisfying to me. I thought that Ors was so shocking to me. I wasn't expecting him to be this large. But it's so funny because it really is the exact shape that I would think of for Shadow Luffy, because Luffy is larger than life. He's immensely powerful for how just he's an average 19-year-old kid. So I found that connection very funny, and the fact that
Okay.
all of the crew had to come together in order to defeat Oars, I just really enjoyed it. I will say, cutting back to a couple more humorous moments here, when Robin refused to dock with the guy's stupid emperor thing, it was so funny because I feel
Come on, it was nice. Come on, there could be a giant Megazord. Honestly, shame on Robin for not joining. Miss Allcherry, you would join, right? 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 You would,
like that's
right?
such a guy thing to happen, where they're talking about docking and they're doing some crazy power move, and then Robin, as a 28-year-old woman, is like, I am not doing that. Don't you dare
Why
ask me to
not?
do that again. That is so embarrassing. And the fact
I,
that then
I
Zoro was like, you guys really almost had me doing this, and he was embarrassed and got out of it. I am so Robin centered. I or coded.
no, Miss Allcherry, we need to know that you would dock with us. If us One Piece fan came together to build one giant mecha One Piece, we need to know that you would dock with us, okay?
I fear I would do the same exact thing and be like, I'm not doing that. I just thought it was so funny. Like, she's so chill and nonchalant about everything, and the fact that it was this that genuinely was her limit, where she was like, no, I'm not doing that. And she said it with such a dry,
Don't
again, like,
worry, guys.
voice,
I will
and
try to convince
it
her.
was
She will
just so
dock with
funny. I
us.
adored that moment. I thought it was hysterical. And then when Usopp and the gang go back to the ship and they see Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji there, and they can't wake them up because they've had their shadows stolen, the fact that they're trying everything, and then Usopp goes, look, there's a beautiful woman swordsman with meat, and it wakes all of them up. Such an underrated, hilarious moment.
It
And then
works.
let's talk about Usopp for a minute and his fight with Perona. I just adore Usopp. He's so relatable. The fact that the negative ghosts didn't work on Usopp because he already thinks so hypercritically of himself, and he's already so pessimistic and negative. I just thought that was such a hysterical moment. I mean, still sad, like I want to give him a hug, but also like I completely relate with, again, like the intense self-criticalness.
So you can relate with the self-criticalness, but you refuse to dock with us. You know what? That's why you're critical. If you were docking with us, maybe you would have more self-confidence. Jeez, I don't know. You know? Ah.
Just absolutely hilarious. And then the fact that Perona and her ghosts were trying to like cheer him up and cheer him on, and he's like, no, don't do that. I thought it was so funny. And then, you guys, his cockroach star bomb has to be one of the most heinous and diabolical things I have seen, not just from him, but in the series as a whole. I would have been foaming at the mouth and passing out too if I were her. Unbelievable. I was like, my guy, where did you think of this? Where did you think to make a cockroach bomb? I mean, it's incredibly effective, obviously. It made him win his fight, but I just thought that was so nasty. I would have been freaking out too. So I also really enjoyed Zoro's fight with the zombie samurai who had Brook's shadow, but I did find it really fast. I wanted to see more, and again, I'm glad that we had more happen in
You're
a
talking
little
about
bit,
Ryuma?
but it happened so fast. But I do love that he won against this guy and was able to get Brook's shadow back. I am curious about that exchange because it does seem like there was a lot more that maybe we'll come back to and visit.
It's Oda. There's
Definitely
probably a
gave
lot
me the
more.
vibe that there was more to this fight that we will revisit at a later time. It kind of seemed like there was some very much unspoken stuff that passed between Zoro and the zombie samurai. So I'm very curious to see what becomes of that. But just a very good showcase of Zoro's power and what he's capable of. And again, it didn't even scratch the surface because we will talk about nothing in a little bit. So, Monster Luffy was awesome. I really loved it. It took forever. This also felt very much like Skypiea in the sense that it took forever for Luffy to find his way to Oars and Gecko Moria and join the fight, just like he was trapped in the stake for so long before he could fight Enel. My gosh, I was like, dude, when are you going to get out of this? But I loved that he turned into this gigantic, again, Frankenstein-esque monster. And when he stopped Or's fist with his bare hand, it was such a hype moment. I was like up out of my chair dancing. I was so excited. I love a good Luffy fight. It just gets you hype every time
It
because you
does.
know he's
Yeah,
going to
it
kick butt.
does.
And this fight actually proved to be a lot more intense than I was originally expecting. And it kept
Okay.
continuing. Like every time I was like, they won. All right, cool. It kept going. So I really loved how, Luffy beat him down and everything. He took care of Oars, but then he got back up and the crew was ready to come in and join him. And then truly, once Oars was down for good, they had to fight Gecko Moria again as he consumed, what was it, 10,000 shadows? Or 1,000 shadows? Yeah, 1,000 shadows. Just a crazy moment. And honestly, Gecko Moria was so lame to me this entire time. But when he started talking
Why
about
she so
his
hate?
experience and time as a pirate in the New World, it it's gave me a little bit of a pit in my stomach. I'm not gonna lie, because he genuinely seemed so like crazed and haunted, kind of thinking about this. I'll post the panel of his face here. He really, because it seems like all of his crew got wiped out in the New World and he fled, and he has Thriller Bark now and his little army of shadows, and that's where he wants to stay. But he's
You're about to
absolutely
read
convinced.
Marineford, so you just wait and see. You're about to read Marineford. Hey, he said the New World is a graveyard. Yeah, you're about to read Marineford.
That
That's all I'm gonna
Luffy
say.
and their crew won't cut it, and they're going to find out what it means to be a pirate in the New World. And I don't know. It was just very unsettling, and it gives me a very nervous feeling for the crew as they proceed because they are almost to the New World. And I don't know. It just makes me uncomfortable. I feel like there's something bad that's going to happen soon, but we will touch on that at a later date. And we can't forget this major point here. We get introduced to another warlord of the Great Sea, the one of the 7 warlords of the sea, Bartholomew Kuma. This guy is ginormous, first of all, okay? He's huge. And then he can supposedly make people disappear, which is terrifying. He makes Perona disappear with a matter of his book. He asks, I think, where would you want to go on vacation the most? I think that's his question that he asks. And originally, I mean, I was like, wow, like this is a very like intimidating large character, but like there seems like there's a lot more to his character, and I still believe that, but he went from intimidating to absolutely terrifying because after the fight with Gecko Moria, obviously, and everyone's exhausted, we see Nami's absolutely terrified face as she remembers that she saw Bartholomew Kuma, and he appears, and it's such an unfair thing because the crew is exhausted. They literally were burning in the sunlight not 10 seconds ago, and now this guy is here. And he originally traveled to Thriller Bark to warn Gecko Moria and say that the government did not want another defeat to happen by the Straw Hats, right? Like they could not claim victory over Gecko Moria. That Gecko Moria needed to eradicate the Straw Hats or at least get Luffy. And Gecko Moria was very offended that they would question his ability, and he wanted Kuma to leave because he's like, get out of here, this is my turf, like, I'm gonna handle them, it's no problem. And Kuma's like, that's fine, I was just told to come and warn you. So he witnesses Gecko's defeat and he says, great, okay, well, the government said I have to eradicate you guys and erase everything because, the world can't know that the government has lost another individual. And again, it's just really freaky, right? Because he's like, okay, time to erase everything. And we've seen what the government did in Ohara. And now we've got this guy who can make people supposedly disappear into thin air. Very just a nerve-wracking moment here. And so Luffy is unconscious after his fight with Gecko Moria, right? Because it took everything in him. He had to do Gear 2. He went crazy and he was relying on his crew to kind of help back him up and take care of the rest after he completely spent himself taking down Moria. So when Kuma is about to harm Luffy and the crew, who steps in but Zoro? And let's talk about the scene, guys. It was really good, okay? So Zoro steps in and wants to fight Bartholomew Kuma, and he is able to deflect Zoro's blade and attack. And he ate the paw fruit, I believe. It kind of looks like a bear paw. And I guess that is what his power entails. But he's also, like, his body is rock hard. Zoro can't really seem to damage him in any way. And he releases this gigantic, like, bomb balloon, and it explodes,
Or it's a
right,
shock.
and attacks everybody. So everybody is knocked out, and he's about to attack Luffy, and then once again, Zoro is up and protects Luffy, and he says, hey, if you want to take a life, take mine. Like, I have a huge bounty on my head too. It should be just as big of a blow. If you can take my life, do it. And this is huge because Zoro said toward the beginning of the series when they first met that if Luffy stood in the way of his dream to become the strongest swordsman, that he would kill Luffy. And here he is, standing in front of his unconscious captain, willing to lay down his own life to protect Luffy. And not only does this speak to Zoro's dedication and loyalty and respect for Luffy, but it also speaks to how amazing Luffy is as a captain, that he would garner this
Luffy is an amazing captain.
complete
Yeah.
devotion
I am
and
too, of
respect
course.
from Zoro, right? And Zoro says, what good would my dream be if I can't even protect my captain? And this was just such a beautiful and great moment from him. So intense. And at this moment, who stands up but Sanji? And he says, no, take me instead, actually, because Zoro, don't give up on your dream. Like, you can't do that. Obviously, though, take mine, I'm fine. And Zoro straight up just body checks him with a sword and knocks him unconscious. But I thought that was such a sweet moment for Sanji to stand up for Zoro. And again, I don't understand people who think that Zoro and Sanji hate each other. I don't think that that's the case at all. I think that they are very much like brothers. They are rivals. They, I would say, are very similar strength-wise. I do think that Zoro's stronger, but they're just two
Would you look at
powerhouses.
that? Would you look at that? It doesn't take a genius to be able to see this. Would you look at that? If somebody like Miss O'Cherry, who won't dock with us on One Piece, apparently, if somebody like her who won't dock with us to create a giant One Piece, robot, if she can tell, if somebody like Miss O'Cherry, who is a Moria hater, apparently, if even she could tell that that Zoro and Sanji are relative, then maybe you're the problem.
And they go neck and neck and their personalities clash, but they do love and respect each other as crew and as Nakama, and it's very clear here that that's the case because Sanji wants to give his life for Zoro, doesn't want Sanji to lose his life, and he's like, stay out of this. This is my deal. Kuma challenged me. Don't butt in. But naturally, he knocked Sanji unconscious because he's not going to let, Sanji give up his life for him when Zoro has committed to this. So Kuma decides, okay, that's fine. I won't harm Luffy today. However, I'm going to give you a glimpse of hell. And when I read this, I was like, dear God, okay, what do we have? What is going to happen here? And he picks Luffy up and he extracts this bubble from him. And he says, this is the total sum of the pain and agony that Luffy has endured and undergone from his battle with Gecko Moria and his underlings. If you can absorb this and take it, which you won't because you're on the brink of death, then, that'll be that. But you have to take this in order for me not to harm Luffy. So Zoro says, okay, but let's change the location. And he lets out this scream, and I really need to watch this moment in the anime, but he lets out this scream and he takes all of this from Luffy. And you guys, my gosh, it made me so emotional reading it, because then, everyone wakes up and they're like, what happened to Bartholomew Kuma? I guess he just left. No big deal. Luffy gets up and he's like, wow, I feel completely fine. And everyone's like, that's weird. What happened there? And then, so they're kind of looking for Zoro, and he appears, and Sanji goes, there you are. What the heck happened to you? Because he's covered in blood and looks like he's on the brink of death. And Zoro goes, nothing happened. So this is the joke that everyone was saying, and I totally get it now. I will say, though, that I don't know, maybe it plays differently in the anime, but like reading it in the manga, I'm just surprised that it's such a joked about moment when quite literally this almost kills Zoro.
It's not so much a joke as it is more of a sign of respect. If Zoro, who was at the brink of death, was willing to say nothing happened, it's more so that we're all acknowledging him and saying, you know what, you're right, nothing happened. He doesn't want to talk about it. He want to acknowledge it as, this is my own private battle. Sanji cannot be involved. Nobody else can involve. I am going to go through this by myself. It is us acknowledging him as a man, as a man who's going to go through this and win, to say nothing happened. So whenever asked about Thriller Bark, you have to respect Zoro by saying nothing happened, because Zoro took care of it. Nothing happened, So it's more of a respect thing, not so much a joke. But it's fun to joke
It is
about it
such
too.
an honorable sacrifice that he made, and the fact that he doesn't want any of the crew, especially Luffy, to know. I'm just shocked that it's joked about as often, because it's such a serious and intense and beautiful sacrifice that he makes for Luffy. I again was just I felt so emotional after I read it, and I guess you can cope with dark humor and that's the joke, but I was just blown away. I already respected and admired Zoro a lot, but like this was the kind of intense moment I was really hoping and craving that I would get from him soon, and I got this in this arc, and I think that that's wonderful. So everyone is
Okay,
happily
that's good.
eating and celebrating, and Zoro is unconscious, and they're all, concerned about him. Luffy brings him an entire barrel worth of alcohol, and he asks Brook to sing a song, and we get into Brook's backstory, but before I do that, I have to pause really quick, because they're all wondering about what happened to Zoro, and these two scraggly pirates come up and they're like, we saw the whole thing. And Sanji's like, well, shut up, come here, come with me. So he drags them off, and then he's like, okay, what happened after I was, unconscious? And they tell him, and he's like, gosh dang it, like, of course he would do something like that, and he makes the pirates swear that they won't tell anybody, because they were going to go tell everybody, because they're like, it's so cool. And he's like, no, imagine how Luffy would feel knowing that he nearly killed Zoro,
And
because
that's why we don't say anything. That's the same reason why we don't say anything, because we're doing this out of respect for Zoro.
he took all of Luffy's pain. And such an amazing, again, admirable moment from Sanji, being the one to keep Zoro's secret and keep this contained, because he knows what it means to Zoro. And again, if he hated Zoro, he would tell everybody, or he would spin it in a different way. And that's not what he does. It's clear this is the most respectful thing he could have done for Zoro. And I love him so much for this. And I don't think I really talked about it fully in depth, but let's rewind really quick and talk about his fight with Absalom. So the moment that all of you were nervous for me to get to, when especially when I said that he was one of my favorite characters, was in the moment with Absalom when he's livid with Absalom and says that he stole his dream, and his dream was to eat the clear fruit so that he could sneak in to women's baths and dressing rooms and stuff. Is it a great moment? No, absolutely not. But I think that there's a bigger conversation to be had about the issue in Japan and not with Sanji. I think that if you're expecting it, then it doesn't bother you as much. Now, I would never hold it against anybody for not liking Sanji for this, because I completely get it. But again, Absalom off the bat was already way worse than Sanji has been in the entire series. And I think that Oda did that on purpose to showcase that, while Sanji merely flirts and he loves women and all of this, and he does think that they're beautiful, he's not like Absalom, and he's not, you know, trying to marry unconscious women, and I think that, I don't know. It's just one of those things where not to sweep it under the rug in a bad way, but you really just have to roll your eyes and move on. I think that it's unfortunately just the gag that Sanji got saddled with. He has
Like she said, it is more of an issue with Japan itself than it is really, honestly, Asia, really, because it's not just Japan, it's also Korea, it's also a bunch of other places. But it's more of an issue with Japan itself than it is with Sanji. I refuse to hold people to the standard that they don't keep. I am not going to say, "Hey, Japan, I expected you to be better." They don't do better or seem to know better. It's literally in their culture. It's as sad as it is. It's in their culture. So yeah. So the fiction that you write, or what is the word? I forgot the exact statement. Fiction is like, art is supposed to mirror real life. Art mirrors life as life mirrors art. So the art is supposed to mirror the life that they lived in Japan. And for the most part, that's what Sanji is. He's just mirroring the life that a lot of unfortunate things happen in Japan. So it's not that Sanji's a bad person, because we know he's not a bad person. We can very much tell that from a lot of reading. He's not even close to being a bad person. So yeah, it doesn't take much reading to understand that it's more of a problem with
hasn't done
Japan than it is
anything
with Sanji.
still, in my opinion, that's inherently bad. I thought that he was like gonna peep or do something to Nami or a different character or something, and I was nervous about that, and he didn't. He was just mad at Absalom for being able to be invisible. So all that aside, I still love and adore his character. I mean, I think it's just one of those things, unfortunately, that you have to separate. I think each character has their own gag. I mean, Zoro gets lost. Usopp is terrified and he lies. Frankie cries all the time and he wears a Speedo. Each character has their own joke and their own gag that they have, and unfortunately Sanji's is this one. But if it wouldn't be Sanji, then it would be another character and people would hate that character, and I get it, I really do. But you just have to look at it from a media literacy outlook and recognize that it is very much a Japan issue and not a Sanji issue. So, not excusing the behavior, not encouraging it, but those are just my thoughts. I think that you have to look at it with a wider scope, unfortunately, and separate this from the character for a bit, because at Sanji's core, it just doesn't make sense for him to be this wildly inappropriate and disrespectful character, and I don't think that he would if given the chance. And if you guys hate Sanji for this, then you should hate all of the guy characters, because they all peeped on the women way back in Alabasta when they were taking a bath, and even then Nami was like, okay, I'm charging you for that. So do with that what you will, but those are my thoughts on it. So fast forward back to where we were. So Brook mentions to Sanji that he also was aware of what had occurred between him and Zoro, and he thought that it was a very wonderful thing, and said, isn't it so nice to have friends and things like that. And such a great moment, and that leads us into him talking about the Lumbar pirates. So Brook finds out from Luffy that the crew knows Laboon, that they met him, and that he's still waiting for all of them to return once they sail around the world. And Brook is just in complete shock and utter disbelief. He's crying tears of joy, talking about, he just can't believe it. He can't believe that he has met not just other humans or people for the first time in 50 years, but that they happen to know Laboon and be friends with him. He's so overjoyed, and this leads him talking about his own crew and his history with Laboon. And he was part of a group of pirates called the Lumbar Pirates, and these pirates, their rule was to love music, and they wanted to make sad children smile. And Laboon was a little baby whale that got separated from his pod, and they started playing music, and he just loves it, and he squeaks and sings along, and he follows them. He rescues crew members, and he really just becomes part of this pirate crew. And they try to deter him and keep him from following them when they are approaching the Grand Line. And they do lose him for about a week until they get to the Cape, the very beginning, the reverse mountain, and then they see that Laboon has followed them. And as much as they didn't want him to follow them, they were all just so happy to see him again. And they end up staying at this Cape for 3 months, which is longer than they anticipated. But it's at this point that Laboon was okay to wait for them and to stay, confident that they were all going to be back in just a couple years. And of course, once they set off, things go really wrong. So the captain gets ill, the crew gets ill from this plague, and it starts spreading to other crew members, and it's not looking good. The doctor has tried all of the normal cures, and nothing is working. And I originally wondered if the plague was the same one that the Shandorans had on Jaya, but I don't think it is. Maybe it could be like maybe another form of it from these trees. I don't think that it's the bite that Nami got, because they had it, I think, for more than 5 days. And since she got bit by a bug, it doesn't spread to anybody. It's only if you were bitten. But they basically have to say goodbye to their captain and everyone else who's ill. They are going to try to leave the Grand Line through I forget, of course I blank now. They were going to try to exit the Grand Line, obviously through the super dangerous way where all of the Neptunians are and everything, and I don't think that they made it.
The calm
and so the
belt?
rest of the crew continues on, and they get to the Florian Triangle, and they are attacked with poison weapons. And they decide that since they're all going to die soon, that they are going to sing for Laboon one last time. Brook had a audio dial so he could record these pirates singing, and you see this, he starts counting down as the rest of his crewmates die until Brook is the last one, and he's just the piano and the accompaniment, and he's like, why is the accompaniment the last to die? And he eventually goes as well, and then of course he's revived as a skeleton, where he remains in the Florian Triangle on his ship with his dead crewmates for 50 years. And I genuinely don't know how he didn't go completely insane. He was seeing hallucinations of his previous crewmates. And I think that this is where, I think that he's lost his marbles a little bit. He jokes so much and he's got these terrible manners. And I think just being alone on a ship for that long, it's like you almost forget how to act in society or with other people. And I think that that's very apparent here. But it makes his complete joy at seeing the crew for the first time, it just makes so much sense on why he was so happy and excited to see like a real pirate crew that was okay after so long. So the title of his song, that it was, they played it for Laboon, the captain loved it, it was his favorite, it was called Binks Brew, and the whole crew, Luffy's crew and all
Being
the other
sake.
pirates are singing it, and Brook is just crying with joy because he gets another chance to sail on a ship with pirates again, and he's able to eventually go and see Laboon again. So just a beautiful moment, a tragically sad backstory, but again, I'm just so glad that he's with the crew now. I really adore Brook. I think he's very funny, and I'm excited, very much like Frankie, to see, in these next couple arcs how he slots in with the crew and aids them in their journey now so close to the new world. And that's really about it. Brook does build a or Frankie builds Brook a memorial for the lumbar pirates, and he's able to officially put them to rest, which I think was just absolutely beautiful. And yeah, that is about it. I think I do have a couple things, but I think they're more for the next arc, so I will save those and save them for later. But if I had any kind of theory going forward, I do genuinely think that there's something bad coming. I think that the crew has heard a lot about the new world and how dangerous it is, but just with Ace awaiting execution, this was another thing at the tail end of the arc, which I was shocked about. He's awaiting execution. This Fishman Island is underwater, apparently. We're right at the border to the New World. We've met Bartholomew Kuma. The government is just enraged and bent on erasing these Straw Hat Pirates completely. So I don't know. I feel like, again, because this arc especially was so lighthearted, I feel like I have a bad, sinister feeling about what is coming ahead for them. I hope I'm wrong, but so it's not really a theory, but I don't know. I'm just really crossing my fingers here that they make it through in one piece. So those are really all the notes I've got from Thriller Bark. Let me know if I missed out on anything or if you want to hear my thoughts on anything else. I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you again for your love and support, and for 3K I just recently hit, which is insane. Feel free to subscribe. You can go to my TikTok account, but for you just YouTube people, I'm so thankful for you all. I enjoy reading your comments so much. Remember to keep it spoiler free for me, and I will catch you in the next video.
But yeah, there you go, guys. Again, go ahead and check out. I'm gonna put the link to her channel down below, and as well as the TikTok. Go ahead and check her out. She's amazing. She's always a bundle of joy to talk to. I share a lot of laughs and a lot of fun with her whenever we're talking to each other. We just never have time to collaborate properly because she's so busy and I'm also so busy. But yes, there's an interview coming soon, and I'm excited. Oh, I'm so excited for this interview. But yes, I look forward to it. And yeah, go ahead and like, subscribe, guys, and I'll see you guys later. Peace out. Stay classy.